Welcome, everyone. Today we discuss how the United States is in a constitutional crisis between President Trump and local federal district judges, just outright overstepping their authority and challenging the power of the executive branch. It's time for President Trump to say what President Andrew Jackson said to the Supreme Court. What are you going to do to enforce your laws? There's nothing that the federal district judge can do. President Trump can do whatever he wants. He can violate or go against any of these court orders. They're all bogus anyway. But given that, President Trump can actually violate all of the Supreme Court decisions, which has only been one, and it's that they chose not to hear a case. And federal judges who are at the district level, who only can make a ruling that should affect their state and district, actually, are making decisions to block President Trump at a district level in their state and mandating that this ruling go nationwide, which is overstepping their boundaries. And so we're just at that time where President Trump is going to have to defy these federal judges and keep doing whatever he wants, whether it's sending gangs back to Venezuela. And let's stop for a moment. I'm going to play this and then give you some commentary here, because you need to see it from other people and not take my word for it. So let's see. Okay, so let's go here.
I want to buy your house. I can pay you cash for your house no matter what condition it's in. If you
Meantime, today, an appeals court is set to weigh in on President Trump's use of a centuries-old Alien Enemies Act. He recently used it to deport hundreds of alleged Venezuelan gang members. ABC's Nicole D'Antonio has the latest from Washington.
This morning, another 200 Venezuelan nationals arrived in the capital of Caracas after being deported by the Trump administration. Today, 3 judges on an appeals panel in D.C. are set to hear the controversial case of 3 previous plane loads of Venezuelan migrants who were deported, and they ended up in a notorious prison in El Salvador. The Trump administration is now looking to reverse a federal judge's order trying to halt deportations. This morning, Judge James Boasberg ruled the Venezuelan migrants deserve to have a court hearing before their deportations to determine whether or not they belong to the violent gang Tren de Aragua.
Mr. President, do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs.
The administration went ahead with the deportations despite the judge's ruling to turn the planes carrying them around. Boasberg warned there will be consequences if he decides his order was deliberately disobeyed. President Trump ramping up attacks on Boasberg, demanding he be impeached or disbarred. And Trump's borders are defiant.
We're going to keep targeting the worst of the worst, which we've been doing since day one, and deporting from the United States to the various laws on the books.
Families of many of those deported say they are not gang members. And late last week, in a sworn declaration, an ICE official acknowledged many of the individuals have no criminal record in the U.S. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
Okay, so we stop right
President
there.
Trump told.
But now here's the argument from their perspective. These family members are saying that these individuals that have been rounded up have no affiliation with gangs. I don't give a crap, okay? They're in the country illegally, okay? They don't deserve a trial. If you're in this country illegally, ICE is going to round you up and deport you. Whether you've committed a crime in the United States or not, it doesn't matter, because the crime that you've committed is you've entered the country illegally. You didn't apply for a visa. You didn't come through the country at a checkout point in California or Arizona saying, hey, I'm here to visit and I'm just driving through. I'm coming here to see my family. I'm going to be here 2 weeks, a month, because then you need a visa. See, if you're from Mexico, you can come into the United States with just a driver's license. Okay. Now, you can't stay here more than 30 days, but we already know that many people do. And then they have children and they use birthright citizenship as their reason to stay here illegally on behalf of their children. And they've been doing this for more than 30 years. So we already understand that. It's been a big thing since 1990. That's 35 years, an entire generation, which has produced probably 50 million people in the 30 years that they've been doing this, turning illegal citizens into citizens. So our last census showed we had 350 million people. At least 150 million of these people are here illegally. Most of them did it through birthright citizenship by coming here illegally. Women, in past the 6 month of pregnancy, then they decided to stay into this country illegally, have their children, then apply for citizenship based upon, hey, my children were born here. So Trump needs to go back a minimum to 1990. And what's going to happen is when he gives a date, whatever date he gives, the Democrats and many of the Republicans, just to get it passed through Congress, they're going to chop off 10 years. So if he says, hey, we're going back to 1990, the Democrats are not going to agree to anything until they can get it to like 2000, 2005. And then at that point, that's when they'll probably agree to pass some type of legislation. So it'll allow like the last 20 years from 2005 till the present, it will allow people, or it will allow people born from 2005 till the present to have their citizenship revoked and shipped back. But anybody born previous to 2005 or anybody that's entered the country illegally previous to 2005, they will be allowed to stay. That is what I think the battle is. So given that, Donald Trump should go all the way back to 1970 and understand that it's going to be a drag down, knockout fight for this to happen. And while he's doing this, we as Republicans need to support President Trump and uncovering all of this voter ballot fraud, the messing around with the servers, and show that basically I think California is a Republican state. The county of Orange County already showed in 2024 elections that there were 100,000 more registered voters than residents that lived in Orange County. So that is a prime start and source of a federal investigation by the FBI. But what we're seeing is activist judges, they don't respect the U.S. Constitution. They have their own interpretations. They're calling everything that Donald Trump is doing unconstitutional, even though he's invoking acts that are very old. So this is going to play out. I believe that at the end of the day, Trump is going to win. Right now, he's in an appeals court. Nobody knows who Judge Boasberger or Bozoberger, who he is. And he's trying to tell Donald Trump that in mid-flight, these planes needed to turn around. To hell with this guy. This judge needs, like Trump said, this judge needs to be impeached. He needs to be disbarred. And Pam Bondi needs to begin investigating all of these judges that are voting like this, because they are destroying the Constitution, and we are in a constitutional crisis. And it's time for the Department of Justice to investigate all of these judges. And the FBI needs to find out these money ties. We already know that when this is finished, I guarantee you 80% of these judges that are voting in this bogus manner, we're going to find out that there's a money trail to them through USAID and other corrupt sources. And at that point, that's when Pam Bondi needs to indict these judges. These judges need to be taught a lesson. They need to be given 20 years, and it needs to be served. And as long as Republicans can control the White House for the next decade, we're going to make sure these judges do a minimum of 10 years of their sentence. So President Trump has 4 years. We want to make sure that J.D. Vance has 2 consecutive terms. I believe Donald Trump is entitled to another 4 years since the Democrats stole that. In addition to that, it really doesn't matter because the Supreme Court, like Judge Boasberger said, there's going to be consequences. What are the consequences? What can you do? You have no power. You have no authority to do anything. Okay. So to hell with this guy. Let's ignore this clown. Let's teach these judges a lesson. It's clear that but the great thing about all of this, and it needs to continue, is because what it reveals is how corrupt our judicial system is, how corrupt our legal system is. The judicial branch of the United States government, from the federal district courts all the way down to the local courts, are all corrupt. We already know local sheriffs, police officers are taking bribes. We already know that the FBI and the CIA are taking bribes as well. So all of this needs to be uncovered. I believe it will. Let's stand together. Let's let all of this play out. The more it plays out, the more these judges come up with these bogus rulings. They're going to reveal how corrupt the federal judicial system is. And what that is going to do is open up all of these rulings over the tenure of these judges sitting in office to be examined. Because if they're ruling unconstitutionally and they end up being disbarred, then anybody that they've put in jail has the right to petition the courts to have a new trial after this occurs. So with that, this is Daniel Plummer, the Crypto Kid. Like I said before, you already have noticed very little has come out about the economy. So today is the 24th, March 24th, 2025. Expect all financial markets to continue to zigzag. But before I let you go, let's find out where Bitcoin is. Bitcoin has to be in the mid 80s price range right now. And okay, it's a little above. It's up $2,380 to the price of $88,406. Ethereum should be slightly up as well. Ethereum is up $88.20 to the price of $2,093, which would imply the S&P 500 let's go with Dow Jones. Okay. The Dow Jones is up $566.21 to the price of $42,551 US. And that means S&P should be up, I would say, around $50. Okay, let's see here. We definitely don't want to use CNN as a source. Okay, let's see. Let's use TradingView. So the fact that you can't even, in general, you should be able to type in, there we go. It's down $47.50 to the price of $5,615. So that's what's going on right now. Yes. So the S&P 500 is down $42.75 to the price of $5,615. You should still expect zigzags for the rest of the month. I already told you April 5th, April 7th. That should be the first time we should expect any positive news or any type of update by the Trump administration on what he's doing with the crypto markets and financial markets. The federal district judges are attempting to tie Donald Trump up, and we just need to play this out. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate you being here. We'll come back with more news later on.